This is the story of a young and beautiful lady whose name was Nneoma. She was exceptionally beautiful and naturally endowed. Nneoma was happily married to her husband Chidi. They have lived together for some years and were both blessed with two beautiful kids. Chidi was doing well in his business and was fully taking care of his wife and children. Nneoma and her children doesn't lack anything, as Chidi would always make sure that he provided everything they needed at the right time. Nneoma was living her life like a queen and had refused to work. Chidi had tried talking to her into going into business or even clothing business or taking up a job, but she insisted on staying at home and taking care of home and children. Chidi saw that he was just wasting his efforts and decided to let her be. After all, he can take care of them all. He was only telling her to engage herself in something so she can be just like other women who doesn't depend on their husband for everything. Despite this, Chidi did not withdraw himself from fulfilling his duties as a father or husband. Chidi continued caring for his family, but one day, something tragic happened. Chidi got to his business place one morning and saw people gathered around. He went closer and discovered that there was a fire outbreak in the market and his shop was among those affected. Though the fire was put out before it could destroy everything in his shop, but it destroyed more than half of the goods in his shop. Most of the people in the market were in tears, including Chidi. For some people like Chidi, this was the only source of their livelihood. Chidi was depressed and broken. He went back home that day, not knowing what to do. He had used all his savings to pay for house rent and the children's school fees. Nneoma consoled him, telling him that everything would be fine, though she knew she had nothing to offer or support with. Doing business with the remaining goods was not profitable enough, and as time went on, taking care of the home became a very big problem for Chidi. Nneoma had started to complain and he was not happy about it at all. Even at Chidi's current financial status, Nneoma had refused to work, and in a bid to make her happy and meet the family needs, Chidi had to borrow a large sum of money from a wealthy businessman named Chief Odili in order to fund his struggling business. Even with the money borrowed, the business was still not moving as it used to be, since he had lost almost all his reputable customers who buys in large quantities. And to make matters worse, Nneoma's demands were endless. She was always requesting for money to buy this or that. Sometimes, Chidi, out of frustration, would raise his voice at her, and that would cause a huge misunderstanding between them for days. And when this happens, Nneoma would exempt herself from cooking for her husband, and for peace to reign, Chidi would go out of his way to grant her wish. Chief Odili gave Chidi just 3 months to pay back his money, and when Chidi couldn't repay the loan when the 3 months elapsed, Chief Odili demanded an unusual collateral, Nneoma herself. Chidi was shocked to the bone when he heard that. How could Chief Odili demand for his wife in exchange for the money he owed him? He begged Chief Odili, but he insisted that if Chidi could not repay his money in 1 week time, he would personally come to his house and take Nneoma with him. Chidi was completely perplexed and didn't know what to do. He ran around endlessly for the money but couldn't even get half of it. Nneoma noticed how troubled he was, and one of the days, she asked him what the problem was, and Chidi narrated to her in tears what Chief Odili had said and what he is requesting. Nneoma gasped in shock and couldn't utter anything. She stood up and silently went to her room, and throughout that night, she was in deep thought. She thought about how wealthy the chief was and what she would stand to gain if she should move to the chief's house. Her greedy and insatiable attitude was busy dragging her to forget her family and follow Chief Odili. The next day, she narrated her thoughts to her friend Esther, and Esther was greatly disappointed in her. How could she ever think of that? Esther spent hours talking to Nneoma, but all that went down the drain as Nneoma was eager to live life and enjoy wealth. She went home that day and told her husband that she was ready to go and stay with Chief Odili. Chidi was confused and thought it was a joke, but Nneoma wasn't joking at all. Chidi asked her if she even thought of her family and their children before bringing up such rubbish. Nneoma plainly told her husband that she was tired of living from hand to mouth and she wanted a better life for herself, and as for the children, he should be able to take care of them. After all, he is their father. Chidi was greatly disappointed. She found it really difficult to believe what she said. So he simply waited to see if truly she would have the mind to leave her family just because of money. The next day, before Chidi could get out of bed, Nneoma had already packed her bags and left Chidi's house, leaving her children behind. Chidi was heartbroken and vowed to himself that he must rise to his feet again. Chief Odili welcomed Nneoma with open arms, and from that day, he began to shower her with gifts and money. Nneoma was thrust into a world of opulence and excess. This was the life she had been dreaming of and was finally happy to have it. She was always shopping and traveling around, forgetting totally about her children. And in the midst of this, Chidi had visited on several occasions, pleading and crying for Chief Odili to let Nneoma go home with him. But right in front of him, Nneoma would tell Chief Odili that she doesn't want to go back and that she was done with the marriage. Sometimes, Chief Odili would send his boys to beat Chidi up and throw him out of the gate. Chief Odili's mansion was a testament to his wealth, with lavish parties and endless streams of beautiful women vying for his attention. Nneoma was initially swept off her feet by the luxuries, but soon realized that she was just another trophy in Chief Odili's collection. As she settled into her new life, Nneoma began to notice the revolving door of women in Chief Odili's life. She was not the only one who had been lured by his wealth and power. A nagging sense of unease crept in, but she pushed it aside, focusing on the temporary comfort and security. As the days turned into weeks, Nneoma's doubts grew. She saw how Chief Odili effortlessly charmed and discarded women, leaving a trail of broken hearts in his wake. Though she had all the money she wanted, but she realized that she had no peace. Even in her presence, Chief Odili would bring in another woman and take her straight to bed. And when she complained to him, he would beat her up and warn her never to poke nose into his affairs. He would also tell her that she was not his wife, but just a tool of satisfaction. Nneoma began to wonder if she had made a terrible mistake, trading her loving husband for a life of material comfort. Meanwhile, Chidi was working tirelessly to cater for himself and his children, and also change his family's condition. His business began to flourish, and with it, a new sense of hope and determination began to pop in. 1 year later, Nneoma's days blended together in a haze of parties, shopping sprees, and empty conversations. She felt like a bird in a gilded cage, beautiful but trapped. One evening, while Chief Odili was away on business, Nneoma stumbled upon a hidden room in the mansion. Inside, she found a collection of photographs of different women, showcasing Chief Odili's numerous conquests. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. She was just another notch on his belt. As she gazed at the photos, a glimmer of hope flickered within her. She thought of Chidi, her loving husband, and the life they once shared. Nneoma began to formulate a plan to escape Chief Odili's clutches and return to her husband. Chidi's business continued to boom, and with it, his fortunes changed. Chidi's friends and family encouraged him to move on, and he eventually met another woman, Adora. She was kind, gentle, and loved him for who he was. Adora also loved Chidi's children just like her own. As Chidi and Adora's relationship blossomed, Nneoma's desire to return to her husband grew stronger. She confided in her new friend, Amaka, who warned her of the potential consequences of her decision, telling her that going back to Chidi means going back to swallow her own vomit. Nneoma's heart rested with her mind. She knew that returning to Chidi would mean facing the consequences of her choices. Amaka's word echoed in her mind. Chidi may not take you back, and even if he does, can you handle the fact that he might have moved on? Despite the uncertainty, Nneoma knew she had to try. She packed her bags, said goodbye to Amaka, and left Chief Odili's mansion, hoping to rekindle the love she once shared with Chidi. Nneoma arrived at Chidi's doorstep, her heart racing with anticipation. She was met with a mixture of shock, anger, and confusion. Chidi had moved on, and Adora was now a part of his life. Nneoma's eyes welled up with tears as she realized the magnitude of her actions and her mistake. Chidi wanted to send her away immediately, but she pleaded with him to let her stay for the night and look for where else to go to the next morning. That night, Nneoma used that opportunity to ask Chidi for forgiveness, and since Chidi had already moved on, he forgave her. She also spent some moments with her children, and when she retired for the night, she cried like she had never done before. She regretted her actions and wished she could turn back the hands of time. The next morning, Nneoma and Chidi had a heart-to-heart conversation, confronting the choices they had made. Nneoma apologized for leaving him, and Chidi shared his pain and struggles. As they talked, Nneoma realized that Chidi had changed. He was no longer the struggling businessman she had left behind. He had grown and was now richer than he had ever been. Nneoma faced the harsh reality of her situation. Chidi had moved on, and she couldn't turn back the clock. She had to accept that their love story might not have a second chapter. Adora, sensing the tension, approached Nneoma with empathy and kindness. The two women had a heart-to-heart conversation, and Nneoma began to see Adora in a new light. And before she left, she begged Adora to take care of her children for her. Nneoma's journey had taught her a valuable lesson. True love and happiness cannot be bought or sold. She realized that she had been blinded by wealth and status, and that true wealth lay in the love and connections she had with others. As Nneoma prepared to live Chidi's life once again, she knew that she would carry the lessons she learned with her. She was determined to start anew, wiser and smarter.